and we say
things are not the same anymore. Crystal sweet INSMP. Things are not the same anymore. Crystal sweet INSMP.
15 ways to be successful, 13 ways to make much money, but the one way to make to heaven. Preacher man, you don't preach about it. Last Sunday I heard you preach. I must confess I was confused. Was that church or Gimpa? Hey! For things are not the same anymore.
All right, let's get to it. So you may have caught all of this on Newsfile, but it is what the nation has been talking about since yesterday. All right, Bryce Simmons shared his opinions on the National Cathedral. Now, he pointed out that cathedrals all over the world are not built with state money. They're privately funded without any contribution from state coffers. So this decision of government of Ghana to use state funds for the cathedral, well, there's nowhere else on earth where this is done.
Almost never built by the government. And I'll walk you through a number of the popular ones that have come up in the debate. So you take the U.S. Washington National Cathedral. What most people don't know is that it's an Anglican church. In the U.S., it's called an Episcopal church because the Anglican church in the U.S., that's how it's called. And this church, or this cathedral, is actually an Anglican cathedral. Its real name is the Cathedral of St. Paul and St. Peter. So the fact that it's often called, branded the National Cathedral, doesn't mean that the government of the United States went to find money and pumped it into it. The Christian community and ordinary people in the United States who love it for its history contribute. And it cost them about $65 million in today's money to build that with no government money whatsoever. Notre Dame has also often been mentioned as the National Cathedral of France. It's a Catholic cathedral. The Catholics run it. They have custodianship. If you go to Jerusalem, you go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, you find out that the Greek Orthodox have custodianship. In different places, or some of the different nativity sites, you have the Russian Orthodox, etc. So typically you have these custodianship, and then they are responsible for finding the money to put into it. The Israeli government doesn't fund the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's not that, that's not how it works. In fact, Notre Dame was recently burnt down, and resources have to be found to restore it. If you've noticed, all the $790 million have come from corporate and private donations. Not a single penny, cent, dollar of government of France money has gone into Notre Dame.
Joy 99.7 FM.
It's Bryce Simmons on Newsfile on Saturday. Now, he also revealed that the architect who handles the cathedral project, Sir David Adjaye, has been single-handedly given other government projects, which in effect bring to a total about US dollars, $300 million US dollars, the amount that would have been paid to him.
Quite surprised to learn that huge amounts of money is being given to Sir David Adjaye upfront. We are seeing massive projects being awarded to him without design competition. Whereas where he traditionally operates, look at the number of projects that he's done in Africa, maybe less than 5% of his entire portfolio. So he operates primarily internationally. And in those places, it's almost always the case that there's a design competition. How can we award the Ghana Trade Fair Center a $1.something billion project, suggesting that if you're going to keep paying him at the rate we are paying him, it's about $100 million project. We decided to do the Ghana Freedom Pavilion in the Biennale in Venice for the first time in 2019, and we went for him. And we're going to pay a huge amount of money. We're going to spend more than $1 billion on Agenda 111. If we use the same fee scales that we've noted that he's been applying, we're going to pay him about $100 million. By the time we are through, we would have paid a single architect more than $300 million as a country. Somebody has to ask some questions. And if we argue that, well, he's a renowned architect and therefore we like his work, why doesn't he compete then? Because then it will be evident that on top of the fact that he's a globally renowned architect, his links to Ghana, his ties to Ghana will also play to his advantage compared to other international architects. But the benefit is that it will bring down the pricing because these are inflated prices. And we are paying huge amount of money to the gentleman. As I've said, we have immense regard for his talent. We have immense regard for his competence. But the way in which the country's money is being funneled, to his studio raises eyebrows. And I think they said the J himself would not begrudge us the feelings that we are having that something off is happening.
Yeah, Bright Simmons there talking about Sir David Ajay's contracts with the government of Ghana, many of which he wasn't even legally permitted to have until very recently. And also the fact that he's being paid 10% of the value of the project is also raising eyebrows. But he wasn't the only one who spoke. Okay, on the same program, Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Ukujeto Ablakwa, revealed that if you add up all the costs that have been incurred by the state in terms of reconstructing, refurbishing the facilities that were demolished to make room for the National Cathedral, we would be looking at about $100 million. Let's hear him.
What government has done so far is just to get them a place to relocate, but they are waiting for financial compensation. So you need to add all of that. So by the time we compute, so this company, which is Comsys, I hope they don't mind I reveal their identity. Then you have Waterstone Realty. Then you have Judicial Service now looking for a $50 million that will be a burden on the Ghanaian taxpayer. We haven't talked about the Malian government relocation because the Malian ambassador's residence was in that enclave. We signed an agreement with them. Please bear with us. We have to demolish. We would relocate you to Airport Residential. The cost of the land at Airport Residential, which government has just bought for them, but they are waiting for the construction of the ambassador's residence. You need to add that as well. The relocation of the judges, the cost of the construction of a permanent bungalow, then passport office. It costs us 10 million Ghana cedis to relocate the passport office. So why is government not coming clean? That is why I agree with
you. Said you have been doing something. What rough figure do you have? How much will it cost the state to relocate all of these entities?
This relocations is in the region of $100 million.
Now, the executive director of the National Cathedral Secretariat was on the show as well, Mr. Paul Opoku Mensah. Now, he said it's not true that the finance minister didn't seek parliamentary approval before spending on the project. He said that there was approval from Parliament on the funds that were used.
There's really not been an agenda to say we want to disrespect Parliament. I mean, I really think that is very critical, Samson. I mean, really, there's not been a grand agenda.
But he's breaching the Constitution. You don't spend before you go and ask permission.
That's what he was saying. He was saying, that's what I'm saying, look, this has to be resolved between them. He was saying that, look, I mentioned seed money to Parliament. I mean, so this idea that I spent without indicating that the government will spend on the cathedral, it's not true. I did tell Parliament, are there procedures that lead to disbursement? Okay, that's a different set of issues.
No, but Parliament doesn't approve seed money in the vacuum.
No.
It has to be specific.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is that the idea that somehow the government is giving money to the cathedral without Parliament even knowing that the government had planned to give money. I mean, there's a conceptual issue here. And he says, look, we came to Parliament to say that, look, this will be the role of the state in the National Cathedral project.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Jesus. Anyway, so that was the executive director of the Secretariat, National Cathedral Secretariat there, speaking. All right, look, let's bring some things into perspective. First of all, a correction. According to the letter written by the chief of staff seeking sole sourcing permission for the engagement of David Ajay's firm, and I'm reading directly from that. It says here, the total budget for the assignment is $23,750,000 US, payable in Ghana cedi equivalent at the prevailing Bank of Ghana Forex rate at the time of payment. The fee accounts for 12.5% of the estimated total construction cost, which is 190 million US dollars. So it's actually 12.5% that is being paid to the architects. 12.5% of the construction cost. This is the first time I'm hearing of this. Never heard of such a percentage being paid to an architect. I mean, if you've built a house before, would you pay your architect 12.5% of the cost of construction? That's what the government of Ghana is doing on the cathedral.
Where the man has prominence, where he's deemed to have done a lot of great work in the United Kingdom, are there projects at that particular rate? Was he getting similar things? And if they were funded by the state? Kojo, at the core of this conversation, and you see, right from the beginning, some of us supported the cathedral 100% because we're under the understanding that it is the contributions of myself, Winston, and Sami, and many others, including the church, that was going to fund this. In fact, it was so clearly stated that we were not going to burden the state with another project because we knew there were some difficulties with doing that, and it was unconscionable to consistently put some of these projects on the state's budget, regardless of the contribution. In fact, even when we were supposed to pull down bungalows and all of the other things, clear land, and say this is state's possible contribution, we were hesitant, but we were not of the opinion that we're going to go full throttle and come and tell people that now it's the Republic that's almost likely going to fund everything. Today, we know there are difficulties with raising funds. We know that the so-called private people who are supposed to be involved have not been as involved as we're supposed to be. But why will you begrudge anybody? If the state can pump this amount of money into the project, why do you think that anybody else should be adding money to it? At the core of this is the question: if this was people's private money, would they use it for what we are talking about? You ask yourself, any properly run state, is that how you would have engaged? Is this what you would have used the public money for? In the face of competing interest. I mean, now, it sounds almost ridiculous. They claim that this is a priority of priorities. Yes, it's almost ridiculous. Because this is a country that's struggling to raise money. That has to go and beg the World Bank for 200 million to merely try and tackle flooding. A flooding that's actually submerged homes in the central region a couple of days, bridges, and all of the other things that's done, the impact on the economy, and the most important things. If there's anything that's at the height of government not understanding priorities, it's almost like this is one of such projects. And it's only in a democracy that's not properly functioning. Because this should be the decision of the ordinary people of a state, that we want this or we don't want that. It appears that the people we voted for feel they have a blank check to do whatever they want without recourse to the people who voted them into office. But what kind of democracy is this that allows people to do whatever they want to do? I mean, you even put the democracy aside. If you are running a family and you cannot pay your kids' school fees, NAPCO, National Service, they have to fight, they have to complain consistently before you can give them allowances, somewhere around 700 or 500 or 600 cedis. Which means that you are giving them money that they have to spend 20 or 25 cedi a day. That 20 or 25 cedi does not even cover some people's transportation. And yet those are not your priorities in the country. You are so concerned about, in fact, watch it. At the time that we're talking about inflation and complaining about fuel price, the finance minister of this republic was on a TV station explaining why we still need the cathedral. It was more important to him than whether or not we are having prices soaring and we need to fix it. But you can then ask yourself, who do the people that we have elected to serve us serve? Who are their masters? Is it the ordinary people? Or there's a different grouping of people who are running the state in different forms that cannot be aligned to the interests of the people? Because national interest is the aggregated interest of our collective people. It appears that in this republic, it is only a few people that determine the national interest. But even if you want to believe that national interest is that of building a cathedral, why are you not convinced that this project can wait? Now, if we don't build a cathedral in the year 2022, or 2023 or even the next 10 years, nobody will die. Nobody will die. But if you don't fix flooding, it has already claimed more than 500 in the last 5 years, and it will do more.
But there's no sole sourcing on that.
I mean,
speaking of sole sourcing, you see, this is why I'm concerned, because we have laws in this country. Okay, so let me read the law on single source procurement. Okay, the conditions under which it can happen. It's a very short thing. I'll read it quickly to you, and then you can determine whether or not this cathedral project falls under that. Getting an architect for this project falls under that. So this is all from Section 40 of the Public Procurement Act. Okay, the heading is single source procurement. A procurement entity may engage in single source procurement under Section 41 with the approval of the board in the following exceptional circumstances. So already by definition, the circumstances must be exceptional. Let me read quickly. A, where goods, works, or services are only available from a particular supplier or contractor, or if a particular supplier or contractor has exclusive rights in respect of the goods, works, or services, and a reasonable alternative or substitute does not exist. So, question, does Sir David J own the exclusive rights to architecture? Okay. B, where there is an urgent need for the goods, works, or services, and engaging in tender proceedings or any other method of procurement is impractical due to unforeseeable circumstances giving rise to the urgency, which is not the result of dilatory conduct on the part of the procurement entity. So again, is there an emergency that this cathedral is needed to solve? C, where owing to a catastrophic event, there is an urgent need for the goods, works, or technical services, making it impractical to use any other methods of procurement because of the time involved in using those methods. So was there something about recruiting David A.J. which would have meant that this will happen quicker? To the contrary, David A.J. wasn't yet licensed at the time this contract was signed with him. He wasn't licensed to operate in Ghana. So actually, this would have taken longer, to execute under those circumstances. D, where the procurement entity, having procured goods, equipment, technology, or services from a supplier, contractor, or consultant, determines that additional supplies must be procured for the supplier, contractor, or consultant because of standardization or compatibility with existing goods, equipment, technology, or services. Okay? So again, all right, I won't say much there. Where the procurement entity seeks to enter into a contract with the supplier or contractor for research, experiment, study, or development, except where the contract includes the production of goods in quantities to establish commercial visibility or recover research and development costs. Or, and this is the final condition under which sole sourcing can happen, where the procurement entity applies this act for procurement that concerns national security and determines that single source procurement is the most appropriate method of procurement. So you ask yourselves whether the cathedral meets any of these criteria. But let's get an expert's view on this as well. Kobina Atabedu is a procurement specialist. He joins us on the phone now. Mr. Atabedu, it's a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo, and good morning to your listeners.
All right. So I think we can start from the law. Yes. If indeed, in fact, do you consider the National Cathedral to have met the legal requirements for single sourcing of its architect?
Absolutely not. And I've shuddered to ask why the hell the PPA, chief executive, and the board approved it. Because from a technical point of view, it doesn't qualify under any circumstance for sole sourcing. And I don't know how many times I'd have to explain it, but from a theoretical point of view, there's a conceptual framework we use. It's a model called the Kralich model, which looks at the value of the transaction and the level of supply risk you have in the market. Now, your supply risk is high if there are fewer or less suppliers in the market. And the question you should ask yourself is that do we have a limited number of architects in this country on the roll? And if we have more than 10 architects on the roll, then we don't have a supply risk. So it should never have been a single source. Now, you read the act and portions of it, and I'll quickly break it down for what applies. If you take the A, it applies strictly to proprietary materials. So items that have license, that leads you to one person. So if I want to buy a laptop that runs on Windows, I can't choose anything else than go to Microsoft. Then I have to use Microsoft. So then this applies. Now, if you put it in the context we are discussing, it's a National Cathedral proprietary. No. So A will not come in. B, where there's an urgent need, this is what we call a state of emergency. So, for example, when we got into the COVID, government had to call a state of emergency, go to Parliament to get an emergency act to be able to take unilateral decisions. Do we have a situation of that magnitude? Certainly not. So B will not apply. C, owing to a catastrophic event. So let's say there has been recent floods and Accra is flooded and NADMO has to move. It is not now that NADMO is going to call tenders to buy mattresses and tents. Then we can activate the C to buy mattresses and tents because there's a catastrophe we are dealing with. Then D, where it is a repeat purchase, it means I bought some. I bought 50 yesterday and I need an extra 2. So I am we call it a call off. I'm calling off against the previous order. And then so in that instance, nothing in that previous contract will change except the volume, where I'm buying additional volumes. Then you'd apply the D. E is an example where, let's say, CSIR have devised an improved version of, let's say, maize, and they want to build a prototype to see how viable it will be, but they don't have what it takes. So they go to a private sector operator and they collaborate with that person to develop the maize to see its commercial viability. It doesn't allow them to go into commercial production. So that's why it is meant for development or research. So it is to help with commercial exploitation of the outcomes of research institutions. Then, of course, the last one is for military purposes. So if we decide to buy a Tomahawk, it's a Tomahawk. It will come from only one place. And it is similar to the A, where it's a proprietary material. But in the case of military, it is because sometimes you don't want your enemy to know what you have in your arsenal. So you don't want to publish it. So you go this route. Now, let me come to the letter that the office of the president wrote. And that is where, again, I fault the PPA, chief executive, and the board. Now, in their letter, they cited the office of the president seeks the approval of the Public Procurement Authority under Section 72.5A. Now, read 72.5A. 72.5A says the procurement entity may select consultants by inviting proposal from a single consultant where there is only one eligible consultant. Is there only one eligible consultant? Definitely not. So what the PPA should have done was to reject the application because there are more eligible consultants. So they should have replied to them to say that go and see the Architects Registration Council. They have several architects on roll. They can nominate for you and you can find people to do it. That should end the case there. Rather, what they did was to go ahead to grant them approval on the basis of B, 72.5B. So the person comes and says, I am applying based on A, and you decide to accept it but put it under B, which is under emergency. Now, again, from a theory point of view and from a technical point of view, as in procurement, we have ways of classifying what is an emergency. apart from what the Act says. It is an emergency when the business entity will grind to a halt within the next 48 hours. It is an emergency. If there's a health and safety issue, so lives are at stake, then it is an emergency. If it is not any of these, you cannot call it an emergency. That is why they refer us to 41B and C. 41B and C is what we described already, which has been put together. So if you look at these three that is listed here, the C, which is a follow-up assignment, is a repeat purchase, which is the same as 41D. And then the B here is a combination of 41B and C. And then the A is actually 41A.
Right. Now, there's another question arising, which is a procurement issue I'd like to bring to your attention for some guidance. Now, we note that the letter that the Chief of Staff wrote to the Public Procurement Authority seeking single sourcing approval, the letter is dated 17th December 2018. Now, we are told by the National Cathedral Secretariat that that secretariat became a state entity in 2019. So I suppose my question is, in 2018, when it was not a state entity, how proper was it for the Chief of Staff to be seeking procurement approval for what was in essence a private entity?
Okay, so again, it raises significant issues of governance and control lapse on the part of the PPA and for the Chief Executive and his board. Now, under Part 3 of the Act, it states the procurement rules. Now, under this one, it describes qualification of tenderers. And under 22(1), it says a tenderer in public procurement shall A, possess the necessary professional, technical, and environmental qualifications, financial resources, equipment, managerial capabilities, and all that. And B, shall have the legal capacity to enter contracts. This is a basic rule in the formation of contracts, without which a contract cannot be formed. Capacity to contract is rudimentary, it's fundamental. So if at that time, David J is not listed on the roll of the registry of the architect, then he is not he doesn't have capacity to contract. So he shouldn't have even been considered in the first place. Because the laws for architectural practice is that apart from the individual or the principal being an architect and the principal being a member of the Institute of Architects, the firm must be registered with the Register of Architects Council. So if he's not registered on the Register of Architects Council, which entity is that? It's unknown.
Okay.
Again, there's an observation I made, which I want to bring out, and which is the use of a renowned architect. So it seems as if the basis for choosing him is because he's a renowned architect. Which, if we were doing goods and services, we would say we are talking of a branded person or a branded material. Now, Section 33 of the Act says that 33(1)(c), symbols and terminology description of goods, work, and services that create obstacles to participation, including obstacles based on nationality of tenders, shall not be included or used in pre-qualifying document invitations invitation document or any other document for invitation of proposal, offers, or quotations. Therefore, as procurement practitioners, when you tell us that you want a double cabin pickup, we don't accept it if you come and tell us that I want a Toyota Hilux double cabin pickup. Because as soon as you do that, you have used a brand or a symbol, and it has marginalized all other pickups. So even if you send me a request and you say, I want a Toyota Hilux, when I'm preparing the tender, based on this requirement, I'll remove the Toyota Hilux, and I'll say that I want a double cabin pickup with this and that and that and that and that specification. So it becomes brand agnostic. Now, in this request, it was very, very branded. And that is very exclusive. And that is on the basis on which they were asking for a sole source, which the Act does not allow, which the board and the chief executive should know better and should not have accepted it.
Okay. Now, I want to share what seems to be the justification presented in the Chief of Staff's letter for choosing Sir David Ajay and Associates. Okay, so on the first page of the letter, it says, the legacy of the cathedral project is immense and requires a design team with varied architectural and design experience that fits into the ethos and the intentions of putting up an impressive national edifice. Sir David Ajay and Associates, with their vast experience and achievement in the field of, and I think it says something architecture, let me continue on the second page, have been identified by the office as the design team to manage the preparatory phase of the project and subsequent supervision of the construction. So, I mean, they are saying that David Ajay...
Excuse me, that's push. I mean, if I use John Mahama's words, that's baloney. See, if you want architects of this stature, the best thing to do, if you don't know if they exist, is to start the process with an expression of interest. Once you put it out that I want to build a cathedral, that will be a legacy project. And that would have the ethos, whatever it is, intentions, blah, blah, blah. So all those nice English they use there, put it in an expression of interest and publish it. And if you like, make it international or nationalize it. All architects who have their CV to suit this will come forward and say, here I am, I'm here, I can do this. At this point in time, there's no concept, there's no design, just an expression of interest. All they do is to come and say that, based on the experience you said you are looking for, I'm raising my hand, I can do this. Then on the basis of that, you'll be able to select and say that, okay, bring me more information about you, and I need this and that specific information. So you move from an expression of interest to a request for information. Then when you have received all the requests for information and you are satisfied that the market has the right caliber of consultants to do the project, then you can go on and go through the process of picking one. But you don't do a sole source. You, by architectural practice, you go to the registry, they will call a design competition, and then everybody will come and pick his concept. It's the concept that wins that is selected. That is how it's done.
All right. We're talking to Kobinata Bedu. He is a procurement specialist. We're talking about some procurement issues around the cathedral project. When we come back, the very interesting issue of the fees being paid to Sir David Ajay and Associates. We understand here in Ghana, and I'm looking at a letter from the Ministry of Works and Housing approving professional fee rates for implementation by built environment professionals. Okay, so that will include architects. There is a whole approved set of fees for these professionals. This letter was signed 7th of March 2017, outlining these rates. And here in Ghana, an architect is not supposed to be paid more than 4% of the value of the construction. Okay, but Sir David Ajay, as we are learning, was paid 12.5 12.5%. More than 3 times the approved rate. When we come back, we explore that and more after these messages.
Hello and welcome to today's weather report. This morning,
have you updated your bank account records?
The weather is unusually chilly for this time of year with scattered thunderstorms.
But have you updated your bank account details?
Will you stop interrupting?
Will you go and update your bank account details?
From the 1st of July 2022, the Ghana card will be the only identification card that will be accepted in undertaking transactions at all banks. Update your bank account records with your Ghana card details at your respective banks. This message is brought to you by the Ghana Association of Banks.
Whatever it is, make it MasterCard. Switch to card for all your payments. Make it MasterCard when creating memories with those you love. Make it MasterCard when streaming your favorite music album or TV series. Make it MasterCard when doing your usual supermarket run, in-store or online. When filling up your tank for a thrilling road trip, make it MasterCard, the safe and convenient way to pay. MasterCard. Priceless.
My first thing was sneaking into the fridge to sip on some Ideal milk.
My first telephone was 2 empty tins of Ideal milk connected by a long string.
My first taste of freedom was when I had 1 full tin of Ideal to myself in SH.
Make more beautiful memories with Ideal milk as we celebrate our 50th anniversary. You can win a brand new car and other exciting prizes when you text the special code behind each Ideal original anniversary label. The more you buy and text, the better your chances. This advert is FDA approved.
This is the Cherry QQ. Ooh. Compact, yet spacious. Cool when hot and hot when cool. Long distances, low fuel. Good looking, tough and rugged. Ooh. The Cherry QQ carries load without being a load. Can be fun, can be serious, but most importantly, it's easy to drive and easy to own. Affordable, respectable, manageable, and can be yours today. Just call Rebecca on 0501-274-487 and say Fred sent you for a discount on your new QQ.
Cherry QQ, distributed and serviced by Tanning Group.
It's Melcom craziest sale ever. Melcom, your one-stop shop, brings you the craziest sale ever. Activate your shopping mood now to enjoy huge discounts and mind-boggling crazy offers at any Melcom shop nationwide. It's the craziest sale ever. Terms and conditions apply. Melcom, where Ghana shops.
Read the information on the gas cylinder to be informed of proper care. Always store gas cylinders upright on a stable platform with a valve on top. Keep cylinder installed at ground level. LPG cylinders should be handled with care. Do not roll or drag a gas cylinder on the floor. This can cause an explosion. Stored cylinders should be in a well-ventilated area and kept at a safe distance. Gas cylinders should be transported in an upright position and secured firmly. A message from the National Petroleum Authority. Use it safely and
petroleum gas. Use it safely and wisely.
Wow, I just paid my taxes right now. Since they started this pay from anywhere, it has become easier, cra.
Easy, cra. Now nobody has an excuse. So long journey no ye jai. Tax, why? Effie, don't tell me you have not been paying taxes, oh.
No, I'm tired of paying. Don't be. It's the taxes we pay that government will use to improve the market and to build the nation, oh. I don't know. It just takes your whole day.
Hey, you mean you have been going to the GRA office?
Effie, unye current, cra. Come and join us. So I'm not paying taxes, no.
Pay your taxes online, at the bank, or from your phone. Together, we can build a great nation. GRA.
GSE, energized for growth. Join Ghana's preferred investment platform. Experience our 3 exciting markets customized to meet the scale of your idea or business. GSE Main Market, Ghana Alternative Market GACS, Ghana Fixed Income Market GIFM. The GSE provides the platform that helps you mobilize capital for your business to be in the right place. Speak to us or our licensed brokers and we will tell you how. GSE, the preferred platform for investment and raising long-term capital.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glycolife, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, e no buff, e no chop, where e vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You no get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey. Hajia, our life was in dangerous.
Only our neighbor gets water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank gets meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selendion. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! That's my boss, Mr. Poncho go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Say Lonat, 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 Lonat. Hey, Lonat, 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 Lonat. Lonat, Lonat. Yen kong skotan. Lonat, Lonat, Lonat. Malaria suron Lonat. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D till Lonat na wogonto. Malaria chill. Wohon popo. What win the day? I want the Num Lonat. Lonat. Adabako. Num Lonat. Adamienu. Num Lonat. Adamiensa. Num Lonat. No. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat ide scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu hu se malaria wa wumojam ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo ho a ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Things are not the same anymore. Crystal sweet, I ain't simply.
Welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy. Let's get straight back into our conversation about the National Cathedral. Some issues being raised about the procurement processes by which we acquired one of the world's best architects, Sir David Ajay. More on that in a moment. First, there are 100 more reasons to buy airtime with MTN Momo. It's really simple. Momo is giving you back 100% bonus whenever you buy airtime from your wallet. That's 2 times the airtime you need. You can schedule your airtime payments, purchases of any amount daily, weekly or monthly just by dialing star 170 hash option 3 and following the process, or simply dialing star 170 star 311 hash for a superb airtime purchase experience. So whether you're scheduling tomorrow's airtime today or buying airtime when you need it on star 170 star 170 hash or star 170 star 311 hash, you get 100% bonus airtime, so you can make twice as many calls and catch up on all the gist, only on MTN Momo.
Now, when creating memories with those you love, dining at your favorite spot or ordering your favorite meal online, make it MasterCard. When streaming an album or watching an artiste at an unforgettable live show, make it MasterCard. When you're doing your usual supermarket run or your weekly visit to the barbers or salon, make that switch to MasterCard with all your payments as a safe and convenient way to pay. MasterCard.
All right, Kingdom Books and Stationery wants you to check out their website, kingdomstoreonline.com, where you can buy whatever you want via Momo across all networks, and they'll deliver to your home or office in good time. If you live in Accra or Tema, they'll deliver for free. Terms and conditions apply. At Kingdom, quality and affordability are their hallmarks.
Now, did you know that a standing order or transfer from your savings account into your investment account does not attract the e-levy, provided both accounts are linked with your Ghana card? Contact GRA toll-free on 0800 900 110 or go to gra.gov.gh for more information.
Okay then, let's get back to it. Now, Bright Simmons also spoke about the architectural fees being paid to Sir David Ajay and Associates. He said that the average percentage that you would pay for a project cost in the UK is about 3%. Okay, so you would pay about 3% of the total project cost as architectural fees in the UK. Sir David Ajay, however, is being paid 12.5%. Okay, let's find out what Bright Simmons said about that.
The average percentage for project costs that you typically find in the United Kingdom is about 3.5%. We have a situation where we're paying, and that's for design and build. We are paying not just design, to be very clear. We are paying almost 10% to Sir David Ajay for this exercise that he's undertaking on behalf of the country. And nobody doubts his competence, nobody doubts his talent, but this is inflationary pricing, which we must talk about. If we were to bring it down to Ghana, we say, okay, well, he's based in the UK, but now he has a studio in Accra, he has a studio in London. What is the UK, the Ghanaian guidance when it comes to architectural fees? And here also, I find it shocking that we will be breaching the Ghana Institute of Architects fee structure, which is around 4%. So we're going to about 10%. What is it about, say, the J that means that we must pay so much when the project scale is such that typically we need to be compliant with guidance?
Yeah, so that was Bright Simmons there speaking on the rates that Sir David Ajay and Associates were paid. Now, I think it's important to note, and it's even made clear in the letter that we read out from the Speaker. I keep saying Speaker of Parliament, Chief of Staff. Now, let's be clear. This letter was written on the 10th of December 2018. Okay, and in this letter, on the second page, it says. Sir David Ajay and Associates, with their vast experience and achievements in the field of land architecture, I can't see the word that comes before architecture, have been identified by the office as the design team to manage the preparatory phase of the project and subsequent supervision of the construction. Okay, so clearly it's not just architecture that Sir David Ajay and Associates are being paid for. They are supposed to manage the preparatory phase and subsequent supervision of the construction. Now, for some reason, that these services are attracting 12.5% of the estimated total construction cost, which is $190 million US.
And could you also, if you look at the, I've just been checking the conditions of engagement and scale of professional fees by the Institute of Architects in Ghana. And it will tell you how much they are expected to be paid. So for pre-contract services, it says that, up to, at the time, when this was done, up to 20 million, it's 8.5.
Okay.
Above 500 million, it's 5.0.
Okay.
Now, post-contract services, 4% shall apply. So if you're looking at pre-contract services, that one is between 5 to 8.5%.
Okay.
And if you're looking at post-contract services, you're looking at 4%.
Okay.
So
yes. In this case, preparatory phase, that will be pre-contract. And then subsequent supervision of construction will be post-contract. So for the supervision of the construction, best he can be paid is 4%.
Yes.
But for the preparatory phase, the best he can be paid is 8.5%. Okay. So it would appear that these are the two figures that have added up to 12.5%.
Yeah.
Which
but,
is what.
But the
he's
thing
being
also
paid.
for the pre-contract phase is that as the value increases, the percentage decreases.
Exactly. So you start off with 8.5%.
But it can actually get to 5% as the value increases.
Okay. So 8.5 is for a project of how much?
Up to 20 million.
20 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there onwards, it should be decreasing with every increase in the
Till
amount.
you get to 5%.
Okay. And we are currently at almost 200 million US dollars, right?
So you should be looking at 5%.
So the figures you are quoting are what? Are those cedis or dollars?
Cedis.
Cedis.
Yes.
Not $200 million. That's about 1.4 billion.
Or 1.6
1.6 billion cedis.
Currently, yes.
So it should be 5%.
Yes.
Not 8%.
Yes.
Interesting.
There's a list. If you check the National Cathedral of Ghana's statement they issued, that statement actually gives us the list of exactly what constitutes the full architectural and engineering services for the project, which are supposed to be delivered. So paragraph 8 says, following the procurement process approved by the PPA and with the input of the Attorney General, a contract was developed and signed between the Office of the President and Sir David Ajay and Associates in August 2019 for full architectural engineering services for the project. It encompasses the following services: architects, structural engineers, civil engineers, envelope engineers, geotechnical services, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, public health services, plumbing is into bracket, fire safety engineers, transportation engineers into bracket, lifts, environmental and social impact assessment, traffic impact assessment, geotechnical report, network survey, lighting and sustainability, signage, landscaping, IT/AV, auditorium acoustic, and kitchen and catering. And there's also one about health and safety tool design, quantity surveying, procurement, and project management. So these are the specific, as they call it, full architectural and engineering services for the project that the company said David Ajay Associates was supposed to provide,
and he was sole sourced for all of these services. Okay.
And you know, you made reference to the Ministry of Works and Housing document about professional fee rates for by built environment professionals.
Yeah.
Now you look at that document dated 7th March 2017. It says, note, a provision of 16.5% of the anticipated cost of the project is recommended as all-in fees payable to project consultants. We need to ask a few questions because some are beginning to suggest that what we see as payment to Sir David Ajay is all-in fees as a project consultant.
Interesting.
So if it
all
is
in fees,
all in fees as project consultant, then we're looking at here, the ministry recommends a provision of 16.5%.
Hey, Charlie, third world country, power. Why are we agreeing to such percentages?
Yeah, that's the ministry's recommendation, signed by, at the time, Minister Samuel Atachia. So that's just by way of, information.
Okay, all right. So look, let's also make the most important point, which is that these letters were written by the Chief of Staff in December 2018, at the time when the entity that was building this cathedral was not a state entity. But more importantly, David Ajay's contract was signed with government in 2019. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So at the time that he was procured, in 2018, and at the time that his contract was signed in 2019, David Ajay was not qualified to practice as an architect in Ghana. In fact, there's a Daily Graphic story, and I'll get the date of the story so that we can be clear. April 26, 2022, that's 2 months ago, which says David Ajay inducted Architects Register. So he was inducted onto the Architects Register this year, April 26, 2022. So at the time his services were procured, at the time his contract was signed, he was not qualified legally to practice in Ghana. According to the Architects Act 1969, he wasn't qualified to practice in Ghana. But we procured him and signed a contract with him. Final thoughts from Kwabena Bedu?
I think you have to give me time to address a few issues. I'll take I take an academic view. I'll take a contractual framework. Now, here is the first point. In terms of the fees, like you rightly said, it is first of all driven by the scale of fees and then market factors. So the scale of fees is not obligatory. It is always subject to negotiation, depending on the competition at play, the ability to pay, the attractiveness of the project itself. So, in my 25 years of practice, nobody actually goes strictly according to the scale of rate. Most times what you find is that they will take 3% for the pre-contract works and 3% for the post-contract works. Now, what drives these two rates and variables? It is driven by, one, the scale of the person acting as an architect, the number of years of experience, and the different types of projects they have done. So when you are buying professional services, these are three variables that drive the rate. Apart from that, there's what you consider as the man hours. How many hours will it take to do this? So even though they said 3%, there is always, from a nominal point of view, a fixed amount that they will not take below that amount. Essentially because if I need a principal architect, a senior architect, and a junior architect, the principal architect, for example, will charge $1,000 a day. The senior architect will charge, let's say, $800 a day. The junior architect will charge like $500 a day. Now, if it will take 21 days, you multiply this by the rate, and that will give you the nominal amount. If the contract is bigger, it means the contract is more complex. So now they go from this base rate to the value of the contract, because then it requires a lot of more work and a lot more scale. Then that is where they apply a percentage of the variable to it. So if you take a contract of this nature and you cut 12%, like one of your colleagues just said, when it comes to the project development, it is not just architects. In the Atachia scale of rates where they gave 16.5, that 16.5, the reason why architects will take 4% is because the architects do the conceptualization. Most of them, they are the lead consultants and they supervise everybody to ensure that they are able to deliver what they design. So the architect takes 4%. But there will be the MEP. MEP is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers. They will take 3%. The surveyors, who are of two divisions, the cost surveyors, which is the quantity surveyors, and then the land surveyors, who do the cadastrals and stuff like that, they will take another 3%. So you find out different groups. Then there's the civil engineering group and the structural engineering group. So different groups will take 3. The architects will take 4. And that is what gives you the 15% we are talking about. Now, my concern is the people who are handling the precedent human resource management, because the errors are one too many. The appointment of the PPA board was made last year. When it was made, the chairman is Professor Mayor Kunfi, who is an excellent academic and a zoologist. But he has zero experience when it comes to the practice of procurement. Now, the Act says in Section 4.1a to D that the governing body of the authority is a board consisting of 9 persons. A person competent and experienced in public procurement as the chairperson. Now, legally, when you say someone is competent, it means he has gone to school, he has been examined, he has been certified, and he has been licensed. Question: is Professor Mayor Kunfi certified and licensed to practice procurement? Definitely not. Experience: has he held a portfolio, either as a procurement officer, procurement manager, procurement director, or what? None. One would argue, oh, but he was the head of GES. Listen, if you go to the public financial management, it's called a spending officer. Being a spending officer doesn't make you a procurement head. That is why in the Act, it recognizes the head of the entity as the head of the entity, but we must have a procurement unit that must be staffed with competent people. And it is those competent people who have the certification to practice the procurement. So effectively, they should advise the head of entity. So the problem is that the board, as is constituted, both in the previous board and in the current board, was not adequately competent. In that previous board, the chairman and the chief executive were those who had certification. The rest, 7, did not have. In this current board, it is only the chief executive who has certification and experience in the practice. The requirement is that 3 persons from the private sector who have experience in procurement, one of whom is a woman. If you pick the current board, there are 2 people who were on the previous board. One a lawyer, one an investment person. You don't have any procurement experience. It says that there should be people from the private sector who are experienced in procurement. The 3rd person has no digital footprint, so we don't even know his background. And as of now, the PPA have not been able to update their website with the profiles of the directors. I wrote to the office of the president on October 11th, and I delivered it to the office. I delivered a copy to the Council of State, and I delivered a copy to the Speaker of Parliament. I haven't received an acknowledgement from the Office of Parliament, the Office of the President. I have stamped copies from Parliament and Council of State. I have never received an acknowledgement. They have not acted on my letter. However, instructively, at the time, Frank Mante, who is the only competent person, was in an acting capacity for over 2 years, which itself is a violation of Act 651, which is the labor law. My understanding is that after my letter went, quietly he has been confirmed. Why is it that they haven't dealt with the rest of the issues I raised on the capacity of the people? Now, I make a fundamental legal rule there. Nemo dat quod non habeat. You cannot give what you don't have. So it is not surprising that the board is approving things like this because they don't have the capacity to question some of these requirements that are coming in.
Wow.
That is the crux of the matter.
That's a disturbing but revealing point on which to wrap up this part of the conversation.
Wanyami sunum poni akaka se won kromfo a ankaba hai who praise the Lord poni na crucify him by anything. Wanyami sunum poni na be ya kromfo Wanyami sunum poni na be ya udini Yes, I send me as a fire. Every friend of my boy, every friend of my mom. Yes, I send me as a fire. Send me and I say, I
don't Joy 99.7 FM.
When I'm a symphony, now by your from four. When I'm a symphony, now by your winning. Yes, I send me as a fire. Yes, I said yes.
Coffee in your cup. Enjoy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
I said, I said, I know the walk. I said, you are the Ketua, who are the Sunny, who bet me a soa. Yes, we put the hair in our wall. Wouldn't him in so I. So I shit. Now, Mutromojo, Sano de Anya. I send me and I say, Nada need DNA. Yes, when I send me and I say, Another near poor 99.7. Shabab, Pana Fay, Adania Sikasem. Mere ni what? Donya min penaya no. Mere ni yo. Sadi anya. Sadia na ya munya ya. Kristo ni François da mo abahanso na okọ abusumfie. Ube yenyuna yenyunu. Ba hye nsoso a ya hye. Wakra ni kunse. Okọ asore. Wakọ akohye ne mpenadam. Ejama monso fato Kristo ni ba sadia nye na manu munya ya. Akọ tuntino. When Timmy and Quaddy Dano, if you had that call to Asafo Penny, one password near you.
How can we award the Ghana Free Fair Center a $1.something billion project, suggesting that if we're going to keep paying him at the rate we are paying him, it's about $100 million project? We decided to do the Ghana Freedom Pavilion in the Biennale in Venice for the first time in 2019, and we went for him. And we're going to pay a huge amount of money. We're going to spend more than $1 billion on Agenda 111. If we use the same fee scales that we've noted that he's been applying, we're going to pay him about $100 million. By the time we are through, we would have paid a single architect more than $300 million as a country.
Joy 99.7.
Mumudia anya bonedano, quantum bomb obey. The young wine on your boneda. Mere ni what? I send you a cracker in a sickly brenti, won't quadia to come here. Apamuko Jana Fite. So come out to Sadia. I send me as a pana fade at Dania Pool Bonnet.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Let me can't old tafo. On no toy car. Children say, when I'm a soon pony, I'm part of more. You had
your office they sign.
Yes, so I tell you, say for proper and modern ceiling solutions, the answer be Interface Limited. Them get in stock acoustic ceilings where you go fit make your office fine like my own.
Or even better pass your own self.
We can better pass